The topic of my presentation is navigating the new business landscape, especially the role of business intelligence and analytics, and also strategic adaptation post the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's probably a question everybody may want to ask. It sounds like it is already a part of history, but why are we still talking about COVID-19? So this is a very important takeaway message I want you to receive from my presentation. The world, especially the business world, after COVID-19 has been materially changed compared to what it looked like before the COVID-19 pandemic. And also, it is my hope that after my presentation today, you will be able to answer some very important questions you may have for this class. For example, why do you need to take this class to learn knowledge about business intelligence and analytics? And also, what are you going to learn from me in this class about business intelligence and analytics? Okay, so I hope my presentation today will help you address some important questions like that for this class. So let's start. First, let's revisit some numbers. So what we see here is the global COVID-19 map that had been regularly updated by Johns Hopkins University. From this map, what we see are different numbers, which really make us recall the horrible history. Let's see how many families had been severely impacted by this pandemic and how many people lost their lives during this pandemic. So no doubt, it was one of the most challenging crises in human history. Not only was it a crisis for human beings, for humankind broadly speaking, this pandemic also severely damaged our society and economy. So, for example, within just 1 week after the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the stock market already experienced 4 circuit breakers. So that is, the stock market was forced to close 4 times within the first week of the outbreak of this pandemic. And also, by the end of the first quarter of this pandemic, the total working hours dropped by 58%. So the drop in working hours means the halt of almost half of economic and business activities in our society. So that is another profound consequence of COVID-19. We see in our society in terms of business and economy. So given this scale of impact of COVID-19 on business and economy, of course, we should expect the persistence of COVID-19's impact on the business world into the far future. So, of course, our focus is COVID-19 and business. The COVID-19 pandemic resulted in the largest isolation, quarantine, and shelter-in-place orders in human history. So, as I just mentioned, and you see the examples, the spread of the coronavirus caused a global economic and social crisis and definitely had a devastating impact on the business world. And the part of the business world that has been most significantly impacted is small to medium-sized businesses. But beyond that, unfortunately, we will see the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic will persist and represent a material change to the business environment. So that is why we still need to emphasize the COVID-19 pandemic and its relationship with the business world and where the pandemic is leading the business world. So now let's discuss in more detail what the pandemic's impacts are and how we should deal with them in the future. So first, this is what the coronavirus looks like. So this is a virus. And now the very first question in our talk today, I want to ask and bring up is, what should we see from the COVID-19 pandemic? Should we only see it as a historical event and forget about it? Or is there something we should see from the pandemic, but with a view to the future? Okay, so to answer this question, I'm going to show you an interesting symbol here. So this is called Taiji, which is an Eastern cosmological term for the supreme ultimate state of absolute and infinite potential. But it's probably most familiar to us as a part of the South Korea national flag. So in this symbol, the black part is called yin in Chinese characters, and the white part is called yang, another Chinese character. So now, in Eastern philosophy, the yin and the yang are used to think about how seemingly opposite or contrary forces are coexisting, complementary, interconnected, and interdependent. So now, Kennedy once said, while the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a global crisis, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of 2 characters. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. So that means we should see the COVID-19 pandemic in 2 perspectives. One is a danger, and another is opportunities. Although these 2 perspectives are seemingly contrary to each other, they definitely coexist, and are even interconnected and interdependent. Now, based on what we learned from Eastern philosophy of thousands of years of history, what we should say is that the COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis from both the danger and opportunity perspectives. So if we further break down the time dimensions into the pandemic part and the post-pandemic part, We really want to know what we faced in the past several years and what we are facing and will face in the future behind those doors. Let's first focus on the danger we faced during the pandemic. So let's first open this door to see how the COVID-19 pandemic significantly changed the world because of the clear danger it brought to us. We need to understand the unique features of the COVID-19 pandemic compared with previous economic crises we've experienced. So, simply speaking, if you've ever taken an Econ 101 course, that course teaches us that an economic crisis usually occurs because of problems on either the demand side or the supply side. But what's unique about the COVID-19 pandemic is that during the pandemic, very often, we saw both strong demand and strong supply. So, as the first economic crisis in human history caused by a global public health pandemic, what's unique about this economic crisis is that COVID-19, this public health problem, actually broke down many of the channels connecting demand to supply. So, this is something really unique about the economic crisis caused by COVID-19 compared to many other economic crises in history. As a result, all the physical policy or monetary policy weapons we've had in the past to battle economic crises were actually useless in the face of this global public health pandemic. This is the danger we've never encountered before. That all the traditional weapons we use to battle economic crises suddenly lost their power. So, in consequence, almost everyone in the world suffered from this pandemic. But here, notice that I said almost everyone. That means there were some who actually benefited from the pandemic or were at least not impacted as severely as most others. So that's why we really want to know, who are those people behind this door? The door of opportunities in the pandemic. Who are those who benefited from this pandemic? One example is Amazon. It's a very typical example of players in the business world who actually benefited and continue to benefit from the pandemic. One clear trend we've seen after the pandemic is the fast growth of online shopping. Just compare the volume of online orders now to that before the pandemic. That's a huge increase in terms of online sales and purchases. So companies like Amazon clearly benefited from this trend. Another good example is Netflix. Netflix experienced much faster growth in terms of new subscribers to their online streaming service since the COVID-19 pandemic began. So Netflix is another good example of successful business operations. Operations that became even more successful during and after the pandemic period. Now, the second question we really want to ask ourselves is, what makes companies like Amazon and Netflix much less impacted by the pandemic? Actually, more than that, what makes their businesses grow faster because of the pandemic? Okay, I think a good answer to this question will really help us recognize some good ways other companies, or even ourselves, can follow to achieve success in business operations or in our careers in the future. Before providing my answer to this question, I want to present a couple more examples of successful businesses during the pandemic. Another example is a Chinese company called JD.com. It's an e-commerce company and one of the two massive B2C online retailers in China. Of course, the other one everyone knows is Alibaba. JD.com is ranked second as a B2C online retailer in China. When the nationwide lockdown in China caused disruptions in logistics and transportation, JD.com immediately rose to the task of deploying automated delivery vehicles to deliver medical aid and customers' online orders. So, this is a short video clip to show you how these vehicles worked during the pandemic. So what's interesting about this company is that during the nationwide lockdown in Chinese cities, no cars were allowed on the streets. While this was, of course, a bad thing for public transportation and logistics, it also cleared the roads for those automated vehicles to run smoothly. So, this is a good example of the relationship between crisis and opportunity. One more example is an app called Zelos. Before the pandemic, this app was for staffing management, especially developed for different public events and festivals. But once the pandemic hit, the company immediately changed its business model, modifying the app to act as a helpline for senior citizens. These seniors could sign up on the app, and more than 1,000 volunteers were mobilized to help them with grocery deliveries. This avoided long waiting lines and reduced exposure to the coronavirus for the seniors. How about one more example? A drone company called Digital Aerosystems. It was originally an autonomous drone company focused on industrial use. When the pandemic started, the company took innovative steps to convert its drones for indoor use, providing UVC cleaning services to reduce health risks. These drones were particularly effective in places that were hard to reach or dangerous for humans.
Hey, Thomas Tapp here of AK Drone. As always, we're here to discuss how drones increase safety, inform decisions, and save you money. Today, we're here with our drone manufacturer, Digital Airless, and we'll be taking a look at the Airtos 120. So it has been said that the Airtos 120 is unlike any other drone on the market. It is industrially rugged and tough, and it is designed to fly in non-GPS or GPS compromised areas, such as inside metal or concrete structures, in confined spaces, and into places where you would not want to send a human. In this video and the following videos, we are going to put that to the test. So for our first test, we'll be heading out to our world-class industrial drone training facility, the Valdez Grain Silos. Inside this massive concrete structure, we will find thick steel funnels and conveyor belts. Definitely not a place to fly a normal drone. Let's get going. So after our first day with the Airtos 120 and the Digital Airless team, we are confident in this drone's unique ability to overperform in industrial settings, go into tight spaces, capturing data in a fraction of the time it would take traditional methods, and delivering data that will inform the decision-making process. So what does this mean for you in your industry? Simply put, you can save lives, time, and money by using drones for your company. If you're interested in learning more about the Airtos 120, don't hesitate. Contact us now through our website at akdrone.com. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
So again, the question, what makes companies like those in my examples less impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and, in fact, able to achieve faster growth during it? The answer lies in what I call drift companies. All the companies in my examples are drift companies. But what does the term drift really mean? Let's break it down. Here, the letter D stands for diversify. For example, Amazon provides an online platform that connects a very large, diverse network of suppliers and customers. Because it serves such a broad and varied market, Amazon was less likely to be impacted by the pandemic compared to companies with a narrower focus. The letter R stands for resilient. For example, JD.com used its self-driving technologies to maintain a resilient logistics and transportation system even during lockdowns. Similarly, Netflix's online live streaming service connects viewers to movies in a way that's not vulnerable to disruptions like traditional movie theaters are. The letter I stands for innovative. For example, Digital Aerosystems immediately came up with an innovative business idea, converting its drones for UVC cleaning, and implemented it quickly after the pandemic began. The letter F stands for flexible. For example, the Zelos app quickly switched its business model to adapt to the new demands created by the pandemic. Flexibility allowed the company to adjust its position in the business world rapidly. Finally, the letter T stands for talent. Behind all these successful examples are talented employees who turn challenges into opportunities, driving their companies towards success during and after the pandemic. Together, these companies demonstrate what it means to be drift companies. They thrive during the pandemic by being diverse, resilient, innovative, flexible, and talent-driven. So, we've discussed the danger and the opportunity we witnessed during the pandemic. Now, the question is, what about the future? In other words, all my previous discussions eventually lead to this very important question of today's talk. What about the future? When thinking about the future, we again need to consider the two perspectives, danger and opportunity. First, let's explore what is behind the door of potential danger in the future. Since the end of the pandemic, everyone has been working hard to repair the bridge connecting demand and supply. By now, we might conclude that this once broken bridge has been repaired and restored. However, what we also see are cracks in the bridge that will permanently exist. These cracks make the supply-demand bridge fragile and more vulnerable to potential future crises, not limited to another public health crisis. In other words, one long-term consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic is that we now have a fragile, easy-to-break bridge connecting supply and demand. In the past, this bridge was supported by 3 generic business strategies, or any combination of the 3. These strategies are cost leadership. This means targeting a broad market with large volumes of demand and offering the lowest possible prices for products or services. Differentiation. This strategy involves targeting a broad market with high demand, but offering unique products or services that set a company apart from its competitors. Focus strategy. This means targeting a niche or local market with limited competition, allowing companies to specialize and concentrate their efforts. Historically, we believed that the supply-demand bridge was supported by these strategies or a mix of them. However, after the pandemic, we should start to second-guess this belief. Why? Let me highlight an important point. All 3 strategies share a common keyword, market. At the core of these strategies, our fundamental assumption has been that the market is the driving force behind all business activities. But based on what we've learned from the pandemic, I would argue otherwise. After the pandemic, the market is no longer the most essential driving force of business. Instead, the essential driving force of business activities is human behavior. The pandemic taught us that human behavior, which drives markets, has become increasingly volatile. The bridge connecting supply and demand now depends on human behavior, which makes it more fragile. Suppose there's another wave of COVID-19 or another global crisis. If human behavior shifts drastically again, markets will be disrupted. This highlights the foundational shift. Markets exist only because of human behavior. So that is the danger. But as I've emphasized many times in this talk, we should also see the bright side, the opportunities. Once we understand the potential dangers caused by the pandemic, we must also try to recognize the opportunities it presents. To build a stronger, brighter future, we need to identify the new normals that have emerged after the pandemic and how they reshape the business world. Let me highlight a few of these new normals. Changes in consumer behavior. Think about how often you now shop online compared to before the pandemic. This is a clear example of how the pandemic fundamentally changed human and business behavior, heightened awareness of risk. The pandemic has made individuals and businesses more sensitive to risks, whether personal or professional. Companies are now more aware of potential risks that could severely impact their operations. Acceleration of digital transformation. More business activities are now digitalized than ever before. Remote work, for example, was almost unimaginable on a large scale before the pandemic. Now, many job postings explicitly offer remote options. This shift reflects the rapid adoption of digital tools and practices. Demand for advanced risk management technologies. Businesses are adopting tools and technologies to predict, mitigate, and manage risks more effectively. Emerging role of artificial intelligence. As businesses embrace digital transformation and advanced risk management, AI has become increasingly central in professional and personal contexts. These new normals underline the importance of agility, resilience, and innovation for both businesses and individuals. Those who can adapt and innovate will not only survive, but thrive in this volatile post-pandemic environment. Given these new normals, the future business environment will likely be more volatile and involve greater uncertainties. However, these uncertainties aren't just a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic itself. They're also the result of a series of chain reactions the pandemic triggered in the economy, politics, and society. So, what is the key to success in such a volatile and uncertain environment? How can businesses and individuals position themselves to thrive? The answer is to become drift businesses or drift individuals. Let's reflect on this. Is the company or organization you work for becoming more diverse, more resilient, more innovative, more flexible, and more talent-driven? Or, if we consider ourselves, are you, as an individual, becoming more diverse in your skill set, more resilient and adaptable, more innovative in your thinking, more flexible in the roles you can take on, and more talented or educated to stay competitive in the job market? Once we acknowledge that being drift is the key to success in the post-pandemic world, the next question is, how can we become a drift business or a drift individual? To answer this, I want to introduce a well-known framework in risk management, the hierarchy of hazard control. This framework can guide both businesses and individuals in transforming themselves into drift entities. The hierarchy consists of 3 layers: eliminate, identify, and remove unnecessary components in your business operations or outdated skills in your personal repertoire that no longer contribute to making your business or yourself more drift-oriented. Once identified, get rid of them. Substitute, identify parts of your business operations or skills that are necessary but not essential, and replace them with new technologies or methodologies. For example, in the past, being skilled at Excel was seen as a critical capability. Today, Excel is becoming outdated, and you should consider substituting those skills with tools like Power BI, Google Sheets, or Tableau. Redesign. Redesign your business structure to enhance its flexibility and its ability to adapt to changes in human behavior at both micro and macro levels. For individuals, this means redesigning your career path to align with new demands and opportunities in the job market. Achieving these transformations on all 3 levels requires education. For businesses, this means providing employees with opportunities to learn new, essential skills and knowledge. For individuals, it means seeking out every possible opportunity to acquire these must-have skills to stay competitive. When I talk about must-have skills, what exactly do I mean? These skills are closely tied to business intelligence and data analytics, including a strong understanding of artificial intelligence, AI technologies. Why are business intelligence and data analytics so critical? It's because these skills make the most significant contributions to the substitute and redesign layers of transformation. They help businesses and individuals navigate and succeed in a rapidly changing world. For instance, data analytics can help businesses improve sales and marketing by implementing AI-powered customer relationship management systems. These systems gather customer data, enabling better modeling and predictions. AI tools like chatbots can automate customer communication, making operations more efficient. AI algorithms can also help identify and recruit the best talent to match business needs. Furthermore, AI tools can analyze competitors, providing insights to outpace them. To summarize, data analytics and AI bring a competitive advantage by lowering costs, improving flexibility and responsiveness, and reducing risk exposure. In summary, with the emerging wave of digital transformation, every company is now weighing the balance between labor and automation. Because of this shift, we, as business professionals, must also ask ourselves critical questions. How likely are we to be replaced by artificial intelligence? What steps can we take to improve ourselves so that AI, no matter how powerful, cannot fully replace us in our current or future job positions? This is one of the most important lessons you will take away from this class. My goal is to teach you how to make yourself more robust and less likely to be replaced by AI tools in your profession. By learning business intelligence, data analytics, and AI-related skills, you can position yourself as an indispensable asset in any organization. Now, let's tie everything together. Throughout this talk, we've discussed how business intelligence and data analytics can improve flexibility and decision-making in businesses. One of the defining features of a highly flexible and adaptive business is that it is data-driven. Why? Because in today's world, Businesses need flexible structures that can adapt to increasingly complex human behavior. This is where data becomes indispensable. Data collection and analysis allow businesses to develop a deeper understanding of customer behavior, employee performance, and market trends, uncover meaningful relationships between various factors that influence business operations, build predictive models to anticipate customer needs or risks, such as decision tree models or forecasting systems. For example, with historical data, businesses can build forecasting models that provide early warnings of potential risks. This enables proactive measures, reducing negative impacts on the organization. Here's a concrete example. Using social media analytics, I once harvested 6,500 tweets related to donuts in the Portland, Maine area. By analyzing the data, I discovered Instagram was the most common platform linked to tweets about donuts, indicating people often shared photos of donuts and restaurants. Holy Donut, Maine was the top mention, revealing it as the most popular donut shop in the area. Donut and coffee was a frequent hashtag, showing that customers often paired these two items. This data provided actionable business insights, such as understanding customer preferences, identifying key players in the market, and determining how customers interact with products. Such insights, drawn from data, support better decision-making in today's volatile business environment. Another example involves sentiment analysis during the pandemic. I analyzed 2,500 tweets from Maine residents with hashtags related to stay-at-home and social distancing. The analysis showed that 76.86% of these tweets had positive sentiment, indicating a favorable attitude toward these measures. Extracting positive and negative keywords from this dataset provided further insights into public opinion during that time. This is another demonstration of how data analytics can quantify human behavior and inform decision-making. Now, let's recap the key takeaways from today's talk. The COVID-19 pandemic has profoundly changed the business environment. The post-pandemic business environment is highly unstable and involves significant uncertainties. Many of these uncertainties stem from systematic changes in human behavior at both micro and macro levels. To thrive, businesses and professionals must transform themselves into drift entities, diverse, resilient, innovative, flexible, and talent-driven. AI technologies and data analytics are essential tools that every business and professional should adopt. Finally, acquiring must-have skills in AI, business intelligence, and data analytics will be critical to staying competitive in the future job market and preventing oneself from being replaced by automation. So, that concludes my lecture today. I hope it has helped you understand why you need to take this class and what you will gain from it to enhance your future career.